Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, the podcast where we explore the origins and developments of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters throughout the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It's another issue of The Flash this week.
Yay!
I know. It's the Barry Allen podcast pretty much at the moment. We make no apologies for this. There'll be a few more issues of The Flash along after this one. In many ways, the podcast is the story of Barry Allen.
Yes,
So I'm glad in a way that we've kind of got so many Flash stories coming up because, you know, it's given spoilers what happens in Crisis on Infinite Earths, that any opportunity to feature Barry and reiterate his significance. The Silver Age starts with him, basically, doesn't it? He's the ultimate legacy hero in many ways, so it's good that we're doing so many of these stories. Today we are doing a story from issue 173 of The Flash, which is published on the 20th of July, 1967. And we record this today on the 19th of July, so that's quite nice.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yes, we're almost only a day out of its anniversary. 54 years ago now, is that?
Mm-hmm.
This was speeding its way to the newsstands of the world.
Indeed.
Or Something or Nothing.
It'll be there quick as a flash.
Yeah, indeed. Now, the cover to this issue is a belter, as we say in Scotland. An absolute cracker. Pete, do that thing that you do so well.
I certainly shall, and tell you about the cover. It is a glorious dark black cover, which is great because the images really pop on it. You've got the Flash logo at the top in green with yellow highlights, which again makes it really pop. And we have got 3 images, and with each image there is a caption. The first image has Wally West Kid Flash, Barry Allen Flash, and Jay Garrick Flash running towards us. And beside that there's a caption that says, "Once there were 3 Flashes." And then the next one, we have Wally and Jay running towards us, and the caption says, "Then there were 2. And finally, we have Jay running towards us on his own, with a little Infantino and Anderson signature at the side, telling us that it's Cameron Infantino who drew it and Murphy Anderson who inked it. And the caption beside that said, "Then there was 1. And at the bottom, to cap it all off, there's just a single caption that says, "Finally, there was none."
Yes! Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash, is back very soon after his appearance in Flash issue 170, but unlike that time, of course, he's on the cover.
Yay!
I like how he's given the emphasis of being the only one left.
Last man standing.
Yep. Yeah, there's quite a significant moment in this comic, which we'll mention when we get to it, but I'm quite fond of this cover. It's an absolute belter.
Yeah,
As
really.
I keep saying, it's really, really iconic. It's really, really straightforward. It's a brilliant, simple idea. I just love that Jay's given the emphasis and that Wally's given the emphasis. You know, it's just cool.
Yep.
So then, shall we dive in?
Yes.
So, our opening splash panel, we have a little tiny caption box at the top that says "Story by John Broome." We have a Flash logo, and our caption box tells us the art is by Carmine Infantino and Sid Green. Sid Green has been doing a lot of good work for us recently. And we have an opening splash panel. We see Kid Flash, Wally West, and the Flash Barry Allen on top of a geyser. Looks like a bit of a weird alien planet, or it could just be a desert sort of situation that's going on. And it looks as though they're being zapped by someone who's mostly off panel, apart from his orange hands, being zapped with a weird space ray gun. So, top of all this, there's a caption box that says,
"Helpless on a titanic geyser as their incredible foe Golden Man appears, the Scarlet Speedster and his young protege Kid Flash are as vulnerable as ping-pong balls dancing on a jet of water in a shooting gallery. But this tingling episode is merely a minor one in a major tale of explosive excitement, which also involves Jay Garrick, the Flash of yesteryear. Doomward Flight of the Flashes."
And there's a bit of dialogue from the 2 Flashes in this panel. Wally is exclaiming, "We're running at super speed, but we can't get off this geyser. The water underfoot, moving, bouncing." And Barry Flash says,
"Golden Man's firing his paralytic rifle at us. Faster, Kid Flash, faster."
Fantastic. So, I wonder when we'll catch up to that in the story. Let's find out. Over the page, and we've already got a page of advertisements, which is fascinating. Palisades Amusement Park, and a selection of 217 different stamps for 25 cents.
Gosh.
I know. And then we arrive at story page number 2. And the first caption says,
"One day in the city."
And straight away there's an asterisk to a little caption footnote box that says,
Keystone City on Earth 2, in another dimension, a world parallel to Barry, Flash, Allen's, and similar in many ways.
Interesting.
Where Jay Garrick, the original Flash, lives with his wife, the former Joan Williams.
And there's a nice panel here showing Jay and Joan relaxing. Looks like probably in the back garden, relaxing in the shade. It's very chill. Silhouette almost. It's very nice. This is Carmine already firing on all cylinders. And Joan is saying, Jay, do you mean to say that your friend Barry Allen on Earth 1 still hasn't told his wife Iris that he's really the Flash?
That's right, Joan. He hasn't.
Well, I've been mulling it over. We've got to do something. No doubt Barry thinks he's protecting Iris by not telling her, but he's wrong. Above all, a wife wants to be trusted.
You mean like I've trusted you?
Exactly. I've known of your secret identity as the Flash of our world, and no harm has come to me. Someone ought to tell Barry that.
Someone? Joan, are you hinting?
Jay Garrick, for a long time I've wanted to pay a visit to Earth 1. You've been there more than once. I think it's high time you took me.
You mean now?
Well, why not?
No reason. In fact, this is as good a time as any, and it'll be a pleasure to see my friend Barry again. All right, Joan, hold tight to my hand. I'm going to vibrate us both at super speed.
Jay extends his hand to Joan, and then the next panel shows them whirling and spinning. Joan says, strangest feeling, a numbness.
Another split instant and we'll be through the dimensional barrier.
So now we arrive at the top of story page 3, and the caption for the first panel says,
And when the super speed vibrations cease...
And we see that Jay and Joan now just appear to be standing on a street corner. Joan is looking around and she says, Phew, where on Earth 1 are we?
Central City, where Barry and Iris live.
Caption for the next panel.
Shortly, at the abode of the young, newly married Barry Allens.
And we see that Iris has opened the door to Jay and Joan. Jay's in the middle of explaining who they are.
And we're friends of Barry from Keystone City, Mrs. Allen. We, just came to town and dropped in to say hello.
Iris replies,
Oh, what a shame Barry isn't here, Mr. and Mrs. Garrick. You see, he and my nephew Wally, who's visiting us this weekend, went off to a movie tonight, leaving me here to finish some work I have to do.
Yeah, Iris gestures and we can see her typewriter in the background.
I'm a newspaper woman.
Jay replies,
So Barry told me.
The next panel then, we arrive at the bottom of page 3 and someone makes an entrance. Iris says,
He'll be sorry he missed you. Goodness, here's my nephew. Wally, what happened? Where is Uncle Barry?
It's a very sad-looking, sullen-looking Wally West that replies, He had to go on a police case, Aunt Iris. We never did get to the movie. And Jay can be seen thinking,
Wally, this is the youngster Barry told me about. His protege, who in secret is Kid Flash. But there's something the matter. His manner. The expression on his face.
Caption for the next panel.
As Flash of Earth 2 makes a quick decision.
And we see in this panel Jay whispering to Joan. Jay says,
Joan, listen. Engage Iris in conversation. I want to talk to Wally privately.
All right, but what's the trouble?
We'll explain later. Go ahead.
The next panel we see at the top of page 4 is Joan engages Iris in conversation, saying, Iris, will you tell me all about your newspaper work?
Of course, Joan. I'll be happy to.
And in the background, you see Jay whispering to Wally.
Wally, act as if nothing is happening. Walk out with me to the terrace.
And then the caption for the next panel for this very momentous occasion says,
Moments later, as the visitor reveals who he really is.
And we see Wally and Jay out on the terrace. Wally is saying, You're Jay Garrick, the Flash of Earth 2? I've always wanted to meet you. Barry's told me so much about you. Jumping jets, am I glad to see you, Mr. Garrick.
Call me Jay. Something is wrong, isn't there, Wally? Can I just stop there? Because in this panel, it looks like Barry and Iris live in a high-rise apartment, which they never have done. It's always been a house. This is something a bit different. They must be moving locations quite a bit.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because that's obviously up high in the sky looking down on the city.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's very moody and dramatic, but they don't live there normally.
Yeah. Yeah, because even when we did 170 very recently, there was the scenes of Barry returning home. And
yeah, that was just a house. Perhaps this is a temporary place they're living. Maybe they're moving to a different house entirely and this is a temporary location. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway.
We should quickly emphasise that this is the first ever meeting of Wally West and Jay Garrick.
It certainly is.
Isn't that amazing? Given everything that Mark Waid did with the characters, in the 90s when Jay was very much a mentor figure for Wally. It's really nice to stick a pin in that. It's like when we did last year's JLA JSA crossover, and you pointed out this was the first time Hal Jordan met the Spectre.
Yes.
There's a nice little resonance here. So this panel will probably, of them up on the terrace, we'll probably stick this one in the socials, I think, because it's a key moment. It's
Certainly
it's the establishment of a relationship that, to be honest, if they hadn't gooned it with Flashpoint and everything else, would still persist to this day.
There's possibly more stories with Jay and Wally together than there are with Jay and Barry together.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Considering how long Jay was a supporting character in the Flash title, post-crisis. So
Blimey. Anyway, so yes, Jay has asked Wally what's wrong, obviously. So in panel 3, we get a slightly wonky-looking Wally. It must be said, not anyone's best work, I feel. And he replies to Jay, "There sure is. I'll tell you what happened tonight, Jay. What I couldn't tell Aunt Iris. Barry and I did start to go out to a movie. That part is true, but we didn't get very far because on the way." In the next panel, we have a sort of ripple effect to the borders because we're into Wally's flashback. Wally narrates the next few panels. "We ran into a spectacular crime right on Main Street." And we see Wally and Barry on the street from behind. They're looking in front of them. We can see a sign outside a building saying money changed, foreign exchange. And there's 3 men in what appear to be green outfits carrying some bags of swag running out of the building. Barry remarks,
"The Domino Gang, looting that money exchange. This must be my lucky evening. I've been after that gang for the past month. Ready for a bit of super speed action, Wally?"
"Let's jet up and go, Uncle Barry." Wally narrates the next panel. "Under cover of invisible super velocity, we ejected our uniforms from our rings, which instantly enlarged on contact with the air." A great panel of Wally and Barry doing so. We can see Barry's outfit stretching out, Wally's outfit stretching out. Classic, that never gets old.
Nope.
And Wally narrates the next panel. "And an eye blink later, and we see Flash and Kid Flash running up from behind 2 members of the Domino Gang. One of the Domino Gang members exclaims,
'Flash!'
The other one exclaims, 'And Kid Flash!' We turn the page now to page 5. These guys, they look very familiar. Do they come back? I've got a vague memory of seeing them somewhere, or...
No, they're one-off villains for this, but their costumes are very reminiscent of the Flash Rogue at the top.
Of course. The mask designs especially, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the shade of green. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they're wearing the green tunics. They've got kind of domino masks on, and they all have pictures of dominoes on their chests and actually on their backs as well.
Yeah, but the pictures on the back and front aren't too clear. Interesting.
I think these were possibly bought off the rack at Paul Gamby's tailors.
Yes.
These costumes, I think, yeah. Maybe ones that the top had rejected. They're not stripy enough for him, so that's fine.
Maybe Gamby had ordered in a surfeit of the green material that the
Quite
top
possibly.
used, and Weather Wizard didn't need
That's
anything new that week, so he
no
thought...
more highlights in Mirror Masters. So yeah, all done. Nope, that's it.
Yeah. So we're at the top of page 5 now. Wally's narration continues. "Our foes managed to pull guns, but before they could use them..." And we see a great little splat sound effect as Wally observes what the Flash is doing. Wally thinks, "With his hands moving at super speed, Flash can squeeze hard metal, compress it as if it were soft rubber." The next panel, Wally's thinking, "And I can tear this gun in 2, as easy as peeling a banana." And we see Wally more than 2. He shreds the gun into pieces with a bit of super speed action.
Mm-hmm.
Wally's narration for the next panel. "The Dominoes backed up against a wall. They knew they were in bad trouble." And we see the Domino Gang all lined up. They've dropped their money and other ill-gotten gains on the ground. They're all squaring up to face off to the 2 Flashes who are zooming in towards them. One of the Domino guys is saying,
"Stay against the wall. They won't be able to get behind us. Use your fists. We can knock them out."
Wally's narration. "Then, amid a flurry of fists, we see one of the Domino Gang with a brap managing to lay a punch on Barry Flash. The Domino Gang member says,
"Huh, a smack right on the kisser."
And as he recoils, Barry thinks,
A lucky punch. He just swung wild and happened to connect.
The next panel, Barry says,
"Don't count me out yet, Domino."
With a zunch and a crunch and a crack, he gets stuck back into the Domino Gang member, and Barry thinks,
"Even as he landed, I pulled back at super speed and took the sting out of his blow. But he can't do the same for mine."
Wally narrates the next panel. "No, the crooks couldn't handle our super speed attack." We see Wally. Well, there's a bit of a helpful say what you see Carmine caption panel with a little Carmine hand pointing at what Wally's doing.
"Column of air breathed out by the Junior Wizard of Wiz, but at ultra velocity, hitting its target with the force of a solid object."
Yes, it basically looks as though Wally's blowing a gust of air at this member of the Domino Gang who falls backwards. The Junior Wizard of Wiz. I like that.
Yes.
Wally's narration for the next panel then. Half of them were down, the other half wobbly, trying to run, when it happened. Barry is calling to Wally.
At them. Don't let them get...
And then he gets zapped by a burst of green energy which comes down from above. Wally cries, Flash! What is it? What's the matter? His narration for the next panel. Before I could move, even before I could think, there's a massive ZOW sound effect caption. A huge burst of green energy. Wally falls back thinking, that terrible blast, knocking me to the ground, losing consciousness. What's happening to Flash? So, we're back now on the terrace. This is actually another very interesting panel because we can see that they are very high up because we can see cars in the street down below them. Wally and Jay on the terrace at Barry and Iris' place, and Wally is saying, when I came to, the crooks were gone, and so was Flash. I saw him disappear, vanish into nothingness right in front of my eyes. And there's been no sign of him since.
Incredible. But you're right not to give any hint of this to Iris. No pointing and alarming her unnecessarily. Listen, Wally, after Joan and I leave, give your Aunt Iris some excuse, then meet me at the drugstore at the end of this street.
I'll be there. Caption for the next panel.
Sure enough, a quarter hour afterward.
Yep, we see Jay and Joan standing in the street. It's another very nicely rendered moody panel where the light from inside the drugstore is casting out onto the pavement. It's very striking. Jay and Joan are standing waiting for Wally, who is approaching. Jay says,
I've told Joan, Wally, I've no secrets from her.
Joan says, here's where I bow out. Leave the flash finding to you two. Top of page 7 now. Caption for the first panel says,
Later, with Joan left at a hotel, 2 crimson thunderbolts cleave the night darkened city.
Yes, this is very what I always think of sort of classic Carmine when
Yeah.
you can see the cityscape silhouetted in the background. It's a crescent moon, not a full moon, because Murphy's not on this gig. And Jay and Wally in costume, speeding along. Jay is saying,
We haven't the least clue, Kid Flash, but it's possible that Barry's disappearance is linked to that Domino gang. We've got to find them.
Right, Flash, Wally thinks. Seems odd to call Jay that, but after all, he is Flash too. Caption for the next panel.
Soon.
A nice aerial shot of the 2 Flashes separately zigzagging and crisscrossing all over the city. Wally is thinking, Jay, Flash and I have split up in order to cover every inch of the city between us. We're crisscrossing back and forth. Ah, here he comes. His path and mine are about to cross.
Suddenly, without warning...
Yeah, there's another massive burst of green and yellow energy with a zow at the heart of it. Jay Flash recoils, falling backwards, his hat's coming off, and he thinks,
Ugh! Explosion! And Kid Flash disappearing!
Caption for the next panel.
As the Scarlet Speedster of Earth 2 fights off a wave of unconsciousness...
Yeah, there's almost the remnants of little green clouds dissipating in front of him. Jay's rubbing the back of his head, thinking,
Kid Flash, vanished, gone, just the way Flash went. Where? What happened to them?
I mean, that's has almost basically had the cover,
Yeah.
happen already. That's amazing. I do like this cover. I'd love to see it homaged with maybe Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart and Alan Scott. I think that'd be nice. If I could draw, I would do something similar. So yes, as Jay struggles to recover and figure out what's going on, we have a change of scenery, and the caption for our next panel says,
At this moment, on a very distant world in the far-off galaxy known as Andromeda...
It's quite a leap, isn't it? Now, this is where we meet the big bad for this issue. We see Wally Kid Flash, I should say, stretched out on a sort of gurney, and there's some weird disc-like platforms all around, but standing over Wally, quite a tall, large man, green curly hair, combed back. He's wearing a sort of deep-cut V-necked, big, billowy, blousey sleeved sort of tunic that looks like it's got the same sort of chainmail that you get on the Submariner's trunks or Captain America's shirt. He's wearing blue boots. He has green hair. He has a red little gem on his forehead and he has red eyes. He reminds me of Adam Warlock.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Which came first? This is July 67.
Adam Warlock first appeared in the September 1967 dated issue of Fantastic Four, issue 66, but it actually came out on June the 8th, 1967.
Wow.
So they're pretty much the same time.
That's insane. That's another X-Men Doom Patrol situation, almost in a way.
Yes.
At least, Adam didn't have too much of a deep V-neck going on. This guy does look very disco, it must be said.
He looks very much like some of the characters that Carmine would come up with for the Adventure Comics style for Hero Run.
Yes.
That he did later on in the late 70s, early 80s. which I adore.
And the current plan, listeners, is when we reach the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, we will do our Dilation for Hero podcast, if we can still stand the sight of each other by that point, and if you make it that far. So this golden man is standing looking down at Wally, and he's saying, "You are asleep, Kid Flash, but I can still communicate with you. You are suffering the after effects of your journey here to Vorvan, but even so, by telepathy, I can enter your mind." See a little burst of radiant pink energy around his forehead, beaming down and connecting with Wally. Top of page 8 now, we get an exterior shot of an interesting sort of alien landscape with a purple sky, yellow desert sands, pink mountains. There's clouds of yellow smoke and dust coming up out the top of the mountains. They might be volcanic. We also see the exterior of a sort of dome, what looks like an alien space city inside.
It looks a bit like the alien space city that the MF Enterprises Captain Marvel first came from.
It does.
Yes.
Interesting. And we can hear Golden Man's voice from inside this dome city, and he's saying, "When you awaken, you must be in full possession of all your faculties. Therefore, it is necessary for you to understand why and how you were brought here. To begin with," and we get a shift here, he narrates the next panel, half of his face in the side of the illustration. He continues, "I am called Golden Man, from the colour of my skin. In all of Vorvan, there is none other like me." And the rest of this panel shows the Golden Man standing out in the desert, rocky area, and he's watching a caveman fellow, and Golden Man is thinking to himself, "Alone. In the midst of these, my fellow creatures of this planet, I am always alone. They are the primitive beginnings of our race, but I am a mutant, millions of years ahead of them in the evolutionary cycle." There's a little asterisk at the word mutant. We get a little note at the bottom which says,
See X-Men comics. It actually says, an individual born ahead of his time. A rare accident of nature.
The next panel has a slightly rippled effect because it's a flashback, and we see caveman type figure further out into the desert. We can see the dome in the background and Golden Man's thoughts coming from the dome, and he's thinking, "My mental capacity is gigantic. With it alone I built Vorvan City, but only I live in it. The others all live in caves, which they prefer, and which suits them better." And we're back with Golden Man standing over Wally as he continues, "But despite my giant intellect, my life became irksome, boring. Hunting had always been my passion, but even that became tiresome because no prey in Vorvan could escape me. In desperation, I turned to other worlds for worthy game. And that is where you come in, Kid Flash. You were brought here, like your mentor Flash, by my teleportation device which acts instantly over any distance." Second panel of this row of panels at the bottom of page 8, we can see that Barry Flash is lying there too, on another gurney. Golden Man continues, "You two were singled out because of all the beings and all the worlds I examined. You two promised to afford me a rare thrill, to hunt a quarry equipped with extraordinary speed." He gets a close-up at the end of page 8 now. "Your mentor, Flash, is also asleep. When you both awaken, you will find yourself outside Vorvan City, teleported by my device. You will be in full possession of all your powers, and at that moment, the hunt will begin." It feels a bit Star Trek-y, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll go on to that later on.
So now, over the page to page 9. Golden Man is still standing with his hands on his hips, and he's declaring, "The rules we will follow are simple. If you two can elude me for 4 T-cans," that's Tikans, and there's another little asterisk and another little caption box at the bottom which says,
A T-can is an Earth hour.
"If you two can elude me for 4 T-cans, you will be returned safely to your planet. If you fail, you will be destroyed. And now, good luck, Earthlings, you'll need it." And little beams of pink energy burst from Golden Man's gem on his forehead and strike Wally and Barry.
There is a click in the brains of the two Flashes, and then...
Yep, we're outside the city. We can see the dome city in the background. Barry and Wally Flashes are waking up. Barry says,
Kid Flash, are you alright?
"Yes, I heard all the Golden Man communicated to us, Flash."
He said he brought us here for thrills. I wonder if that's the real reason.
They've started running off in the next panel. "What are we going to do, Flash? I can't see why we have to play his deadly game."
We have to. It may be our only way to get back to Earth. Come on. All we have to do is elude Golden Man for 4 hours. We'll start by putting miles of distance between us and Vorvan City at super speed.
See them running along the alien landscape, little clouds of steam and smoke bursting out the ground. Wally says, Seems too easy to get away with it. Caption name for the next panel says,
Swift as moonbeams, the two speedsters race across the awesome, forbidding terrain of Vorvan.
And we see Flash and Kid Flash running across this alien landscape, bit of volcanic action in the foreground, clouds and dust and stuff all around them. Flash is saying,
This must be what our Earth was like millions of years ago, while mountains were rising.
Wally says, the ground itself is strange, shaky underfoot.
Suddenly,
A geyser of water burst up out of the ground, bearing both Flash and Kid Flash up into the air. Barry says,
Trouble!
and we're caught up in it, says Wally. We arrive at the top of page 10. The caption says,
a huge force bursting out under the super speedy pair at fantastic velocity raises them high in the air.
Yep, we're more or less at the splash panel now. Flash is saying,
We've been shot upward on top of a great geyser.
the water, bubbling, dancing underfoot. We can't make any headway. We're running in place, even at super speed.
We've got to get back to the ground. We make a perfect target up here, like in a shooting gallery.
And in this panel 2 of page 10, we can see in the distance, well, Wally tells us, Flash! An aircraft heading this way! And then we're inside the aircraft and we see that it's being flown by Golden Man, who's pointing a gun at the two Flashes. Golden Man says, Ha! Caught on my geyser! This hunt is practically over! You didn't last long. In a moment you'll be within range of my paralysis rifle. The Flash says,
It's Golden Man. Pour it on, Kid Flash. Vibrate downward. It's our only chance.
caption for the next panel.
As Flashy's inspired idea proves its worth in the nick of time.
Yep, see Flash and Kid Flash are powered down into the geyser. The spacecraft, aircraft thing has zoomed past, and Flash is saying,
He can't get a clear shot at us now on account of the rushing water. As soon as we hit ground level, Kid Flash, take off.
tremendous. Over the page now to page 11. We get a nice aerial shot of the two Flashes zigzagging across the alien landscape with Golden Man's airship flying above them. The Flash is saying,
We're moving so fast now he can't see us, much less shoot at us.
and from inside the spaceship, Golden Man says, My compliments! You two are getting away this time, but it's a long way to the end of the deadline. You haven't won yet! Caption for the next panel.
As red streaks spurt across Vorvan.
Yep, it's another shot from above, the two Flashes zooming across the surface of Vorvan. Wally is saying, At this speed, we're practically invisible. We'll keep going round and around this planet and won't slow down until the 4 hours are up.
This ought to work, and yet...
Caption for the next panel.
Instantly, the heavens open up.
Yep, Barry's dialogue tells us what's happening.
Rain, pouring down. It's a deluge.
Never saw or felt rain like this before, says Wally as they speed through the rain. It's a very nice panel, very nice. Some weird stuff starts happening in the next panel though as we reach the bottom, page 11. The Flash says,
It's forming crystals as it hits us.
Yeah, it looks like they're being surrounded by green bubbles, it looks like, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All this stuff forming around them. The Kid Flash says, Crystals growing fast, all over us. Flash says in the next panel,
They're sticking to us like glue. Can't shake them off.
weighing us down. Can't keep up our speed. Top of page 12 now. Caption of the first panel says,
Like a great bird of prey, a now familiar air vehicle zooms at the harassed Flashes.
Yes, as Golden Man's ship bears down on them, he cries, My crystal rain has slowed you down, Earthlings. Now my paralysis rifle will stop you completely. Then from inside his burst of green crystals, the Flash says,
Quick, Kid Flash, follow my lead. Head for that dense thicket fast as you can.
Yes, 'cause behind them we can see a bit of vegetable growth. It looks like tall, thick grass. The caption then for the next panel.
As the desperate duo crashes into the densely packed thorny bushes.
Yeah, we see Flash and Kid Flash fighting their way through the foliage. Flash is saying,
As I figured, the sharp twigs of these bushes are tearing off the crystals, ripping them loose.
we can see them all being dislodged and the Flash and Kid Flash are much clearer than they were a minute ago. Wally says, Quick thinking, Flash. We can move again. We see the two Flashes zooming off again, and as they go, the Flash is thinking,
With the crystals off us, Kid Flash and I are moving so fast that we're outracing the paralyzing radiation from Golden Man's rifle.
yeah, because Golden Man's spaceship is in the same panel. He's attempting to zap them with his paralysis rifle, bursts of golden energy, and Golden Man is thinking, They're escaping! Their speed is fantastic! I don't mind that a bit. The caption name for the next panel.
In an instant, Flash and his protege are hundreds of miles away.
It's another panel of them zooming across the alien landscape. The Flash is saying,
We'll have to be on our guard every moment, remaining in the hunt, Kid Flash. Golden Man is tricky. He'll stop at nothing.
He seems to have control over things on this planet. He's using all his powers to trap us. Over the page, top of page 13.
Meanwhile, Golden Man has returned to his laboratory headquarters.
We see Golden Man operating some equipment. He's back to us. It's nice to see there's a massive big deep V on the back of his outfit.
Yeah.
The big sort of shoulder pads and the... Actually, the way it's drawn there, it looks like there's scales on his legs as well, so maybe he's wearing leggings too. I don't know. Anyway, this has been the Golden Man Fashion Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
As he operates the machinery, Golden Man is thinking, "The two Flashes don't realise it, but this hunt I'm carrying out is just a ruse. Merely my way of getting them to run at their greatest velocity and with their highest vibration rates. They know nothing about this machine I've built to capture and store their super speed energy waves. When the voltage of that energy reaches the proper level, this machine will carry out my gigantic scheme. It's designed, when I throw this lever, to instantly catapult the primitive people of Vorvan through 1,000,000 years of evolution, all the way in one leap to my level." We're outside the city for this panel. You can see a couple of the cavemen type Vorvan people sitting at a fire. Goldman's thoughts continue. "At a stroke, Vorvan will become a planet like Earth, only much more advanced. And I will become the leader of a super civilized world, instead of this rude, crude one." And as a caption now as we return back inside the city,
As the incredible Golden Man tests his machine's power output,
we can see a needle on a dial wavering. Golden Man thinks, "Not yet. I need more super speed energy, much more. To obtain it, I must impel my quarry to even greater efforts. But that won't be hard. Ha ha ha. Not hard at all." Caption name for the final panel on page 13.
and soon after, in the path of the speeding duo, suddenly...
We get some terrific see what you see dialogue from Kid Flash and the Flash here. As they're zooming along, it's a great rendering by Carmine, actually. I love that. It's
The
gorgeous.
after images, yeah.
It's beautiful. Kid Flash is saying, "Ah, the ground's melting under us. It's turned into a kind of quicksand, pulling us down." Flash says,
"Quick, Kid Flash, open up, give it all you've got."
and we have a tiny caption that says, "Continued on 5th page following." Opposite page is an advertisement for a classic Lois Lane 80-page giant. Lois is the Mad Woman of Metropolis, the ghost of Lois Lane convict. I think I owned that one at one point. Over the page there's another advertisement for Matt Mason. I think we've met him before already. There's an advert for Novelty Parade. Then we return to the story with page 14, and the caption for the first panel says,
But the strange tenacious bog clings with terrible strength to its prey.
"Yeah, is this the first appearance of quicksand in the Earth 2 podcast?"
I think it is.
Nice.
Oh, no, wait, hang on. We had the Vandal Savage story.
Of course.
Yes, that
137.
that wasn't quite quicksand. That was just like sinking into the
Yeah,
ground with
similar
density,
sort of
but
similar sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Peter and I, as children of the 70s, we buy into that cliche of expecting quicksand to be everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. Don't go into the woods, there'll be quicksand.
Yep, don't go down onto the beach. Don't try and rob that galleon. There'll be quicksand. Yep, it's quite nice to have some quicksand rocking up in the podcast. Barry's up to it's over his waist. Wally seems to be a little further down indeed. Wally is saying, "Despite all our efforts, a tremendous force is sucking us down."
We're close to solid ground, but as we advance toward it, we go deeper and deeper.
"I'm going under. Never mind me, Flash. Save yourself." Barry says,
Hang on, Kid Flash. Only a couple of yards more.
and he thinks,
Got to help him.
caption for the next panel,
With an outpouring of enormous effort, Flash reaches his younger colleague.
yep, Flash has grabbed Wally by the shoulders and is managing to pull him up out of the bog, which is good because he was almost under. Flash is thinking,
He's passed out. Feels like a dead weight in my hands.
and there's an uh-oh point here, the caption for the next panel.
At that moment,
Yep, looks though Goldman is arriving again in his airship. We can see Flash struggling to remove Wally. Goldman is thinking, "Beautiful! I've got them at a spot where they're giving off super speed vibrations of the highest frequency. I'll let them struggle for a moment. No need to threaten them with my rifle." Final panel of page 14. Barry has managed to get Wally at the quicksand and is hurling him away. Barry thinks,
Got him to hard ground. He's safe, but the recoil from my efforts pushing me under.
no. We arrive at the top of page 15.
thinking only of his protege, the gallant man of speed, endangered his own life.
Oh my goodness, this is dark. We see like basically Barry has gone under. We just see his hand poking out from the quicksand. We can see Wally in the background lying on the rocks. Golden Man zooming over, thinking, "Great Andromeda! Flash has sunk beneath the surface. I didn't want this to happen. Not before I have a sufficient accumulation of super speed radiation. I must rescue him." He's firing off some beams of energy from his ship in the next panel, and he thinks, "Can't locate him. I've sent down a score of energy beams probed in all directions. He must have been gone too deep, beyond my range of power. Flash is gone. Finished." Next panel, you can see that Golden Man has picked Wally up, draped him over the back of his airship, and flying off, and he's thinking, "Flash performed a heroic fight, saving his protege. Almost, he won my sympathy. But I've no time for such thoughts. I'll take Kid Flash back to Vorvan City. I may still need him for extra power." A slow dissolve then, and a caption that says,
"Later."
Golden Man is assessing his machinery, and he's thinking, "Power level not yet high enough. What am I to do now? Kid Flash by himself can't possibly give me the necessary volume of energy. I need at least 2 super speed energy sources. Wait a moment. I just recalled something." He looks very thoughtful in the next panel, stroking his chin. Continues to think. "At the time I plucked Kid Flash from Earth, I spied through my super telescope another figure moving near at ultra velocity. It looked like another Flash, though it was my belief there was only one adult Flash on Earth. In any case, whoever he is, this second Flash is about to follow in the cosmic footsteps of his 2 predecessors. I need him here on Vorvan to carry out the super evolution of my planet." And we see Golden Man grabbing hold of a handle, looking into something that looks like a sight. He's obviously got his eyes on Jay Garrick, hasn't he? Because we arrive at the top of page 16 and the caption of the first panel says,
Meanwhile, as the Scarlet Speedster of Earth 2 seeks his missing friends...
Another gorgeously rendered panel of Jay speeding about. He's a complete blur. There's just the hints of the yellows and the reds and the blues, the reds of his boots, the silver of his helmet. Stunning. And he's speeding through another gorgeously rendered Carmine City. And Jay is thinking,
No clue or trace of their whereabouts or of the mysterious force that seized them. Maybe if I slow down a bit, make it easy for that force to find me, it'll seize me too. Whatever the danger, I must risk it.
And sure enough, the caption for the final panel of this chapter says,
Then, with blinding, overpowering impact...
And there's a massive crong sound effect, burst of green energy and yellow energy as Jay Flash gets struck. And he's thinking,
Earth disappearing around me, a force like 1,000 lightning bolts picking me up. This is it. First Flash, then Kid Flash, now me.
Fantastic. Tiny caption says, story continues on the second page following. This page is rounded out with an Iced Cap's Hobby Hints cartoon, which is cool. Over the page, we pass the letters page for this issue. Oh, they're talking about the See Nothing spells of Abracadabra. Fancy that. Deja vu. Top of page 17, the caption for the first panel says,
On Vorvan, almost simultaneously...
Jay Garrick has arrived. Golden Man thinks, this Flash endured the teleportation without losing consciousness. Yeah, it looks like Jay's standing in front of him instead of lying down like Wally and Barry did. Jay's thinking,
This must be the hidden foe behind the disappearance of Flash and Kid Flash.
The next panel we see Golden Man making a move for his paralysis rifle, and he's thinking, I must bring him under control. His arriving here wide awake came as a surprise. Jay starts to vibrate, thinking,
Seizing up that weapon, only he's much too slow.
Caption for the next panel.
But as the original Sultan of Speed whips forward...
One of the round discs that we saw earlier on, sort of scattered around the ground, Jay's standing on it, and it rises into the air. Jay thinking,
The floor tile under me suddenly spinning, shooting me in the air.
Golden Man delightedly says, Yes, my centrifugal force. This room is alive with devices to protect me, Flash.
In mid-air, the embattled speedster vibrates himself to one side, barely in time.
There's a bit of say what you see here. There's a worse sort of sound effect as Golden Man zaps the disc that Jay was on, but Jay's already off it, bouncing down to the floor, and he thinks,
Managed to avoid his energy blast at me, dropping back now toward the floor, and toward him.
In the next panel, Jay's leaping up into the air at speed towards Golden Man, and he's thinking,
I'll leap over the tile that spun me a moment ago. This time, nothing will keep me from reaching him.
Top of page 18, the caption for the first panel.
But as Jay Flash catapults himself forward abruptly...
Yep, that plan gets stimmied. There's a bit of say what you see thought bubble action from Jay as the disc collides with him.
That tile shot upward from the floor.
His hat's been dislodged and everything. Golden Man exclaims, Ha! My devices are mind-triggered, Flash, and I can think as fast as you can move. Gosh. Caption for the next panel, slow dissolve.
And when the master of Vorvan's latest victim comes to his senses...
We see that Jay's now with Wally. There's a sort of device hanging down from the ceiling above them that appears to be radiating out kind of like maybe a force field or some suppression energy above them. Jay's on his knees, waking up. Wally's standing over him. Jay says,
Kid Flash, you alright? Where's Barry?
I'll tell you everything I can, Jay. And it's a bit of a slow dissolve as Wally obviously has brought Jay up to speed, if you pardon the pun. And Wally concludes by saying, and after that nightmarish hunt, I learned through thoughts communicated to me by Golden Man that Barry Flash perished in the quicksand after saving me.
Barry, I can't believe it. We've got to get out of here.
Caption for the next panel.
As all vibratory efforts fail to free the entrapped duo...
See that Jay's vibrating inside his little prison? Wally says, no use. Can't break through this strange radiation. Golden Man's there, hand on his hips as usual, and he observes, of course you can't. My science is far advanced over yours by at least 500,000 years. But I must admit I have never been able to recreate your super speed vibrations. Too bad we can't carry on the hunt. I rather enjoyed that, but I have no more time to waste. He's crossed to some equipment. There's the next panel. We can still see Wally and Jay trapped behind him. Golden Man continues, I am introducing an artificial cold of sub-absolute zero into your radiation cell. The only way you will be able to stay alive is vibrating yourselves to your utmost at super speed. Hurry! You better begin now! Top of page 19, there's a sort of burst of yellow lightning, almost like flames, going over the radiation prison. Wally and Jay both now moving at great speed, both vibrating on the spot, it looks like. Golden Man says, that's it, Earthlings. Into your super speed dance against death. The needle is climbing up. Soon my machine will be ready to transform the creatures of Vorvan. Uh-oh, caption for the next panel.
As the deadly cold springs through the radiation cell...
Yep, cracking shot of Jay and Wally vibrating at super speed. Jay's thinking,
We may be aiding Golden Man, but we can't help ourselves. And Wally thinks,
this cold, increasing in intensity. We've got to vibrate faster and faster to combat it. Jay says out loud in the next panel,
at this rate, we won't last long, Kid Flash. Our own vibrations carried to such an extreme will kill us. Yet, we can't stop.
I'm weakening, Jay Flash. Can't keep it up. Caption name for the next panel.
But in the grim crisis, help is on the way to the embattled pair in the person of none other than Barry Flash.
Yeah, we're outside the dome, and to be honest, the way this has been coloured...
It's a bit of an error, isn't it?
Yeah. This looks like it's Jay that's speeding towards the dome to the rescue. It must just be the effects of the weird atmosphere on the alien planet, I suppose.
Let's just say it is.
I mean, there's quite a lot of red and yellow. There's a little bit of blue. I mean, the white bit at the top there maybe looks like it could be Jay's helmet, but let's just...
We'll certainly post this panel on the socials that you see what we're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, as he approaches the dome, Barry Flash is thinking...
Without his knowing it, the telepathic thoughts of Golden Man coming to me at a distance have informed me of the desperate plight of Kid Flash and Jay Flash.
Well, that was handy. Caption for the next panel says...
And, micro moments later...
Yep, Barry Flash vibrates presumably through the wall of the dome into the city. Golden Man cries, Great Andromeda! The other Flash, but you're dead!
And you're dead wrong, Golden Man.
Caption for the next panel.
At top speed, the human whirlwind destroys half of his foe's laboratory in a twinkling.
At this panel we can see Jay vibrating away under the radiation prison and Barry just sort of zooming past. He's got a couple of bits of wiring in his hand. As he does so, Barry is thinking,
I don't know which of these switches controls the radiation cell holding Kid Flash and Jay Flash, so just rip apart all of them until I hit the right one.
From inside the radiation prison cell, Jay cries,
Barry!
Top of page 20 now. And Wally and Jay have been released. Barry's obviously pulled the right equipment. Fantastic. Wally says, he freed us. Jay says,
how great to see you alive, Barry. We believed.
Barry cuts them off though and says,
I'm alive all right, Jay, but if we're all going to stay that way, the three of us have to tarnish Golden Man's hide.
And the three flashes zoom towards Golden Man, who has his hand on a lever, and thinks, three-way flash attack against me. I'll have to exert every erg of my telekinetic power. Another asterisk and another caption tells us,
Editor's note. The control of matter directly by mind is known as telekinesis.
If you'd read an X-Men comic, you'd have known this. Had John Broome been reading the X-Men for ideas? I don't know, I wonder. Golden Man has activated his equipment and the three flashes are being zapped by a burst of orange and yellow energy. Flash is thinking,
his mental force counteracting our super speed motion.
Jay Flash is thinking,
blowing us backwards.
And Wally thinks as he recoils too, As if by a giant wind. I love that. It's almost like the thoughts passing between them.
Yeah.
You know, were they all thinking the same thing? That's
Looks like it.
That's
Yep.
ace, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
That's really nice. Okay, so down to the bottom of page 20 then. The Flashes appear to have regrouped. Jay says,
His mind power acts only at short distance. We're out of its range now. Wally says,
but how do we defeat him if we can't reach him? And Barry concludes,
I have an idea. Listen.
caption for the next panel.
Then,
Right, now, there's a lot going on here. In the bottom left hand of this final panel of page 20, we can see that Jay and Wally are vibrating. Barry is breaking away from them and zooming towards Golden Man. And as he does this, Barry is thinking,
By vibrating at the same frequency J Flash and Kid Flash are, boosting my super speed power, their vibrations are reaching me, adding to my velocity as I go at Golden Man.
terrific. Isn't that... Oh, are we having a Logopolis moment here?
Yeah. That's quite like Wally West's ability that he has.
Yes, that
Yes.
whole being able to borrow someone's speed and...
Yep, and transfer it.
Yeah, interesting.
Which obviously doesn't come into play until he's mastered the Speed Force.
Yeah.
Much later on, decades from now.
Yeah,
So yeah,
cool. That was good. We haven't had
Interesting.
a live, spontaneous Logopolis moment for a long time.
no.
Top of page 21 then now, and the caption for the first panel says,
as the improvised maneuver succeeds brilliantly.
yeah, it's a great shot of a very distorted looking Flash. Carmine is killing it this month, it must be said. You know, him and Sid are obviously a great combination. Sid Green is working wonders across everything that we've been doing recently. Very distorted looking Flash approaching Golden Man. Golden Man is thinking, he's breaking through my telekinetic shield. His speed is so fantastic, my mind can't affect him. The next panel, Barry is caught up to Goldman and is pummeling Goldman's face with his fists. Goldman is thinking, striking me, assaulting me with physical force, raining 1,000 blows in the space of an instant. Caption name for the next panel.
Toppled by the attack, the Vorvan man of the future is still indomitable.
Goldman is down on his knees and he's thinking, I still can win. My evolutionary machine is undamaged. By activating it, I'll create a host of new golden men, like myself, to combat the Flashes. In overwhelming numbers, they'll come to my aid. Caption name for the next panel.
Then, in response to a mental command from Golden Man,
It's a massive click, and we can see radiation waves of energy coming from Golden Man towards the machinery, and Golden Man thinks, the only question is my machine ready? No time to test it, I must take the chance. So yes, click as he activates the machine.
as an incredible change takes place, but not in the people of Vorvan.
Golden Man thinks, my people must all become like me. But a change is coming over him. He's basically... Well, Barry will tell us in a second. Golden Man continues to think, something happening to me. Barry tells us,
Look, the change coming over him. It's as if he's travelling backward in time, 1,000,000 years before our eyes.
yeah, because Golden Man has basically devolved into one of the mutant caveman types that we saw outside earlier on. Oh no, it's completely backfired on him. Top of page 22 then.
As the change is completed and the machine stops,
Yeah, very sad. We can see that he's completely devolved, still wearing the remnants of his fancy costume. He starts moving away. J Flash says,
He's become just like the other primitives here.
Barry says,
Incredible. His mental force is gone. I can feel it. And Wally says,
he's no menace to us now. We're outside the city for this next panel. We can see the former Golden Man making his way out into the landscape. J Flash says,
He was out of place here, far ahead of the planet's evolution.
and the other Flash replies,
Now Vorvan can progress naturally towards civilization in eons of time. He tried to rush things, but his futuristic science boomeranged on himself.
gosh, it's quite poignant actually. Caption name for the next panel.
later, before attempting their return to Earth, the three speedsters match notes and fill in gaps for each other.
Barry Flash is saying to Jay and Wally,
And under the quicksand, since I found superspeed couldn't resist the downward pull, I decided to change my tactics and try to vibrate downward instead. This had a quick effect. In no time at all, I'd vibrated through the entire planet and come out on the other side. You know the rest.
We're outside the city again for panel 4. It's our final shot of the former Golden Man as he walks off into the landscape. And from inside the dome, Wally's voice says, You sure had us scared, Flash. We were afraid you were really done for. Jay says,
I gave Golden Man a scare by landing here conscious. I figured out what happened. You know, as Flash, I always maintain an inner vibration which causes my facial features to blur a little, and that's why I don't have to wear a mask. When I'm the Flash, no one can recognize me as Jay Garrick, and it was that vibration which made me immune to the shock of teleportation.
Caption then for the final panel on page 22.
Finally, the last remaining problem is tackled.
Yep, we see all three Flashes working at super speed, and Jay says,
We're finished.
and he thinks,
Working at super speed, we've managed to reverse the circuits on Golden Man's teleportation device. When it's turned on, it should return us to Earth.
and we arrive then, top of page 23, the caption for the first panel says,
And sure enough, only split moments after the machine has been activated.
and we see all three Flashes, and Wally says, Central City! Flash! We made it! Jay says,
I bet the girls will be glad to see
and
us.
Barry says,
Yes, but before we change to our civilian identities, Jay, I have an idea.
bit of a slow dissolve then. Caption for the next panel.
A day later, after the Flash trio has banded together to capture the rampaging Domino Gang, a farewell.
Yes, we see Jay and Joan smiling away at a beaming Iris, Barry, and Wally, and Jay says,
Goodbye, Barry and Iris. Goodbye, Wally.
and he thinks,
Joan spoke to Barry privately, and he has promised to reveal his secret identity to Iris for their anniversary, which comes up next month.
and there's a little star which says,
And next issue, which we will indeed be covering on this very podcast, so stay tuned, folks.
indeed, exciting. And so this story concludes. Final panel.
Heading homeward too is young Wally West.
And we see Wally on a train wearing his yellow bow tie. Bow ties are cool. And Wally is saying, Here's Blue Valley. And he's thinking, Phew, what would the kids in school say if I told them about the adventure I've just had with my friends, the two Flashes? One thing is sure, I won't ever forget our encounter with Golden Man.
The end.
Well then,
So what do you think of that one?
I really liked it actually.
The artwork's really interesting. This is later Carmine. He's heading into that later style that he has. And some of the panels are amazing. Some of them are absolutely atrocious. It looks quite rushed. I know he was doing an awful lot at this time. He was doing this, he was doing Batman, he was doing covers.
Yeah.
Because we had that Justice League cover, the other episodes. Yeah, the artwork's very variable, but there is some great standout moments in it. But other bits, as you said, that there's a close-up of Wally that looks like a monster in it.
Yeah, not very good at all.
Some pictures are just like totally in shadow. It's really interesting, but it's definitely you can see his artwork change, which is fascinating and evolve. It's fascinating.
Well, yeah, evolution's the word for it, isn't it? I mean, I wonder how much Sid Green was contributing to either maybe minimising the effect, how much we were seeing of the change or whatever.
Or maybe he had to do a bit more finishing than usual.
I mean, you're right. I mean, there's some panels in there which I think rank up with some of the best of his early showcase Barry stories. There's some beautiful, cityscapes and stuff, some really, really moody stuff. Well, the Wally panel that we found contentious is almost touched the Gil Kane's about it.
Yes, almost up the nose shots, yes.
That famous complaint about Gil Kane. So yeah, I mean, art was uneven, but as I say, I thought the story was good. I mean, it would have been nice if Jay had been in it a little bit more. If maybe it had been Jay and Wally that spent the time running through the landscape.
Yeah.
Because it has felt like Jay hasn't turned up in the last couple of JLA-JC crossovers. He was obviously in issue 170 with Dr. Fate and Dr. McNider. First time we'd seen him in the Flash since Flash 151. It's just, obviously this is the issue where Jay gets to meet Wally and the three Flashes team up, which is good, but it just would have been nice to maybe have Jay in it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I did like it how ultimately, Act 2 sort of finished with Jay being brought there and, it definitely felt alright. Things are cooking up, heating up now.
The plot's fantastic. It's really good.
Yes, it's very, very well structured. A really, really satisfying read. I mean, I felt, I think I said some aspects of the last JLA-JC team up we did, I felt were a bit kind of unremarkable. But I really enjoyed this one, proper, good and solid. And as I say, I felt like the Golden Man's whole presence and motivation and way of going around things just felt really Star Trek-y.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Right.
If Golden Man had been open with the Flashes at the beginning,
they might have helped him.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. They might have said, well, of course we'll help advance your civilization. That's an altruistic thing to do. Let's do this and help.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, no, we shall play the most dangerous game. Which is such a cliche in itself, but
that's a really good point, because if he'd said to him, Flash, I need your help, I'm trying to do this, they would have gone, okay. We could talk about the Prime Directive, I suppose, here, if we're comparing it to Star Trek. Would they have wanted to interfere in this other civilization to that extent, or,
Well, obviously they didn't after he'd been an enemy of theirs.
Mm.
But it might have been different if he'd approached them in an entirely different way.
Yeah.
A couple of things I want to mention about Goldman as well is I find it fascinating that he's the one who's the mutant, he's advanced, and just himself, he's managed not only to build an entire city from nothing, obviously, has to like mine, create equipment, create tools in which to build things, understand how everything works, and he might have some telekinetic abilities as well, but there's still the whole understanding construction, understanding the mathematics of it all, understanding engineering.
Yeah.
There's all that, and then he builds the entire city just for himself.
Uh-huh.
I find that fascinating, and then after all that, he designs himself a natty uniform.
No, but that's a serious point. I mean, he's designed all of that equipment and worked out that, by harnessing super speed. So he almost must have been at this for a while, experimenting maybe with other ways of doing it and trying to figure out. I do feel sorry for him because he was, he wasn't like talking about then going on an alien invasion rampage type thing. He really just wanted to kind of.
He was lonely.
Yeah, he wanted to try and improve things for himself, obviously, but for his civilization. It's quite. Maybe we'll have to write a sequel where maybe the effect of the machine wears off on him and he tries again, and Excess and Impulse go along and help him with hilarious consequences.
There is a kind of parallel with him and Gorilla Grodd as well, because Gorilla Grodd's another character that has been evolved to a human form and devolved back to Gorilla on occasion. He's also swapped bodies and stuff. Grodd's history is hilarious and wonderful, and I love every appearance of his. There's a lot of weird stuff in there, but evolution forms a major part of it, which is interesting considering he thinks he's so evolved anyway. Yeah. But he actually evolves into a human later on. Right. And then devolves back to an ape. It's great. But yeah, it's fascinating. One of the things we didn't talk about really as well in the story was the fashion choices of the characters.
What do you mean, Barry and Jay and everyone?
Yeah. Huh?
Very contemporary.
Yeah. First of all, when Jay and Joan come over to Earth 1, which, sidebar, that's fantastic. Let's go on a holiday. Let's go on a vacation. I'll take you to Earth 1. That's great. Come on, you've always gone to Earth 1. You've been talking about Earth 1. Please take me to Earth 1. Yes, okay.
I like the way that Jay told Iris they're from Keystone City. Iris is not daft. Iris must have gone, where?
Well, that's another thing. They turn up. Iris has been married to Barry for just nearly a year now. And obviously been seeing each other for a long time. She obviously knows he's a massive comic fan. She's probably seen comics lying around. Well, Jay has been on Earth 1 and teamed up with the Flash before when they tackled Captain Cold and the Trickster. Yeah. Obviously she'll have seen pictures of that Flash. She knows that Flash exists.
Yeah, because it was that whole time that Jay was reported in the newspaper as being there and assisting.
Yeah. So you've got that. And he turns up at the door with Joan saying he's from friends from Keystone City. Now, I think Iris probably twigged that that's who this is. Because Iris is not daft. No. She comes across as daft sometimes, but you'll find out very soon how not daft she is.
It's interesting. I think with Iris, it's what I think is so very effective with her, especially in the Silver Age stories, is you don't really get inside her head too often.
True.
You don't really know what she's thinking. You don't really know how much she's clocked on to. She's around for a long time still after this, and and is a very prominent character. To this day, appearing in a TV show in the version of her rocking up in the Snyder Cut, etc. I'm very fond of Iris as a character. Yeah. I do like the fact that that she probably had Barry sussed right from the start, but loved him too much to actually spoil anything
but to not put him in a position where he would feel uncomfortable revealing anything to her.
Yeah, she kept his secret and stuff and, was on his side, which is nice. Yeah. It's nice to see that sort of positive relationship, I suppose, having each other's back and stuff.
Yeah. I do love how Joan and Jay turn up at Barry's door, very much in the same style as Barry turning up at Jay's door in Flash 1, 2, 3.
Of course. Of course.
So it's just great fun. I just love that sort of thing. I don't know if that's a conscious homage or if it's just me reading into it, but yeah, I love that. It's possible. So good.
It was a good, fun, fast-paced story. We mentioned the quicksand, how exciting that found. I mean, it really did feel like a Star Trek plot in a way, like where maybe Kirk and Spock were put through trials to kind of have their energy zapped from them. You can imagine perfectly just it going wrong. Yeah. And the guy being devolved into a baby at the end of the episode or something, and the Enterprise leaving. It was fun. Quick pace. The artwork, when it was good, was very good. I certainly enjoyed it a lot more than Flash 170, mainly because I think it was a bit pacier, and I liked the sci-fi element of it. It was nice to have, and it was. I mean, let's be honest, it was so cool to have Jay and Wally and Barry teamed up together. Yeah, we haven't had that yet, so that was great.
And Barry and Wally don't actually team up an awful lot. People talk about Wally coming back in DC Rebirth. Barry's saying, "Oh, how could I forget you?" But
Yeah.
all the other characters that Wally visited in that storyline, he had had a much stronger and longer relationship with.
Yeah, I mean, I think because a lot of the time, obviously, Barry's in the main story of the comic and Kid Flash is a backup strip.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of running separately almost. There was enough stuff, I think, to kind of cement the relationship and flag that all up. But no, it's a fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point.
One of the things I liked was Goldman's laboratory with these big hovering discs that they're standing on. It reminded me quite a bit of the combat discs that they stood on in the Flash Gordon movie that moved about.
Oh, yeah.
Just
I get
like
you.
smaller
Yeah.
versions of that.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I
Yeah.
kind of expected spikes to come out of it at any
Aye.
point. But yeah, that's quite fun. I did enjoy that. Obviously, that's much later on compared to this story, but it did spark a memory of that in me. So that was
Yeah, I
fun.
mean, it did feel very outer space science fiction in a way that
Yeah.
a lot of Flash stories really don't. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's just because it was John Broome
hmm
that was writing it, and he's obviously got his Green Lantern experience by this point.
Yeah, quite Adam Strangey, I would say.
Aye.
That alien world is very
Yeah.
Adam Strangey. Yeah.
Aye, I think we liked it. Shall we have a look and see what people thought at the time?
Yes, let's move on to the letters column from issue 176. Flashgrams from issue 176. There's only 2 letters in this page, but they are very interesting letters. So I'll kick off with the first one. Dear editor, the cover in Flash 173 looked interesting, but I can't help thinking it would have been much more impressive if you merely had a straight shot of the 3 Flashes running right out of the cover toward the reader. Art-wise, Doomward Flight of the Flashes was spectacular. Sid Green is doubtless your very best inker and one of the finest artists in your whole office. The only difficulty I can find with his work on Infantino's pencils is the way he handles women. I take it he means drawing women.
Yes, he's very rough.
Well, now I know he doesn't dislike women, but why can't he give them the same careful attention to detail that he gives his male subjects? Really, the work and faces and hairdos of the girls this time round was pretty bad. Actually, Joan's hairdo reminded me a bit of Stripesy's Golden Age hairdo. The way it's kind of like up a bit.
Let me just, yes, very much like your custom Funko of Stripesy, which makes me laugh so much because you've recreated the hair so well. Yeah.
Only when he traced exact lines as towards the end of the story did this situation begin to correct itself. Otherwise, all was perfect as usual. Another artistic triumph. Say there, editor, I always thought this story was about Flash and not Superman, yet I see more and more throughout Flash stories that he's achieving extraordinary powers far beyond those which he was originally endowed, such as ripping that solid steel gun all to pieces, using super breath to bowl a crook over, and the like. Well, to be honest, that was Kid Flash who did both of those things, but anyway. These things might be remotely possible for a character going at super speed, but I don't think they are very probable. Please keep the super speed stunts down to the things we know and expect. Flash doesn't need extra powers to handle his menaces. His speed alone, and the more reasonable things it produces, as seen in past issues, can take care of these problems.
That's a bit... You know, is he basically saying that the Flash shouldn't develop new ways of using his speed and just keep it...
Yeah,
I quite liked the blowback sort of thing. It was pretty cool. Anyway.
Your villain this time round was not very impressive. Well, I'll take that back. He was impressive, but not very villainous. I found my sympathies were entirely with him most of the way through the adventure. I found myself hoping against hope that he would triumph and advance the evolution of his planet so that he could have the companionship he so desperately sought. What I don't understand, though, was why Golden Man simply didn't ask the 3 Flashes for help. There we go.
Great minds.
Such a worthy project would probably have enlisted their aid immediately. Attempting to use coercion and trickery to force the Flashes to produce what he wanted was his undoing. There is undoubtedly some kind of moral lesson there somewhere. This story was so well done that I can't add my usual little stream of gripes and complaints. The action was brilliantly handled. Writer Broome threw exactly the right situations at her heroes at exactly the right time. The climax was perfectly executed. The Flashes from different worlds didn't trip over each other's good deeds, as I half expected they would, nor did Broome resort to that hideous old cliché of having them split up to look for different answers. He didn't need to. Thanks to careful foreplanning and extremely fine work, I hope future Flash comics continue to meet the high standards set by this issue, art and story-wise. And that's from Robert Jennings, not my friend Robert Jennings, but another Robert Jennings, from New York.
Editorial response is, we can't go along with your objection to the new super speed stunts Flash has been pulling off recently. To repeat stunts that we know and expect would make them old hat. And who likes to look at someone sport an old hat season after season? If the surprise stunts conceivably can be a byproduct to super speed, It's in.
Well, technically, Jay's wearing an old hat, and he's always wearing an old hat.
Yes, very old hat.
Whether you go for the World War I style
Almost.
hat or the actual Mercury ancient Greek hat.
Almost 30 years old by this point. Yeah.
Mhm.
The next letter is from Jeff Pierce in Stanford, California.
Not Black Lightning, Jeff Pierce.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Dear editor, when will I get a book?
When will I be created?
Yeah.
Yours, Jeff Pierce. Well, Jeff. Okay, dear editor, allow me to begin this literary masterpiece of mine by that's modest, by announcing to the world the following world-shattering statement. Gardner Fox is the only man that can write stories involving Golden Age heroes well.
Gosh.
Uh-oh. With that out of the way, we can now proceed to bigger and better things. Flash 173 featuring the Doomward flight of the Flashes. I can't really see how that title actually sort of applies now, to be honest.
Yeah.
We should have been Challenge of Golden Man or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Flash 173, featuring the Doomward flight of the Flashes, was the worst issue of this magazine published since issue 166. Not even Real Origin of the Flash could match this issue for sheer all-round stupidity. Blimey.
Well,
Of course, 166 was the sole time Jay Garrick appeared in 1966. There we go. And I'm so glad we did that story. Anyway, I shall start unloading my bag of complaints where most readers start, with the cover. All three of the speedsters were too heavily built, giving the impression of three running supermen. No, not at all. Why not let us have the old Flash back? The Flash I knew and loved, old brother, was muscular, but in a nice sort of way. He looked like a runner rather than the wrestler. Now let's look at the cover. Maybe it's just the angle they're running at. But I mean, Barry looks a bit more built, but Jay and Wally look fine.
yeah, as I said, Carmine's art is changing and he does go into a chunkier style.
Yeah,
And he is drawing a lot of Batman at this moment.
of course. The letter continues. The inside art wasn't much better than that on the cover. Gosh. In issues 168 through 171, Sid Green was adding more of his own style to Carmine Infantino's work than he is now. The art in this issue looked too much like the stuff that results from Infantino inking his own pencils. The noses in every panel were too pointed. Eyes were never shown in anything but a squint. One good note, though, the backgrounds, machines and positions were as good as always. Yes, I thought the positions were excellent, didn't you, Peter?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I hope that Sid adds more of his style to the art in the future than he did this issue. Wow, that's weird, because we like the art. Okay. Now, the story. Doomward Flight of the Flashes sounds very dramatic, so naturally I expected the story to be as dramatic as the title. Let me go on record as saying that there was not one dramatic word in the entire issue. Rubbish. What about the whole quicksand thing? What about Jay being... Oh, anyway. The closest thing to drama I could find was the sentence in the little editorial blurb at the bottom of page 1, which reads, "No subscriptions accepted without zip code."
Oh dear.
Wow. Rather than drama, I found a mishmash of old short story plots. Fingers pointing at Kid Flash, exhaling at a criminal, and an orange-skinned clown with feet like a duck and a red raindrop in the middle of his forehead. Perhaps he was attacked by a bottle of ketchup. I haven't the faintest idea. This is brilliant. You are probably wondering about the statement I made in the beginning of this letter, so I will set aside all of the sarcasm which has thus far run rampant through this epistle. The reason I think Gardner Fox should be a permanent writer of the duo Flash epics is that Mr. Fox, more than any other writer in your staff, is able to capture the mood of the golden age of comics on paper. Not even John Broom's superb Green Lantern team-ups can come close to Flash of Two Worlds, Solomon Grundy Goes on a Rampage, and the best of all, Beyond the Sinister Barrier. Now, Beyond the Sinister Barrier, that was the Spectre.
Yes.
Only Mr. Fox can expertly blend in all the many subplots, characterise the heroes, and most important of all, create the setting which is so necessary to any story. This is why he's my favourite writer. Now that's interesting because you and I had remarked how almost simplistic and straightforward Gardner's stuff was with the huge amount of say what you see, captioning and dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of, they were well paced and enjoyable, those stories, but that, okay. Jeff concludes his letter then by saying, "Let us just record issue 173 as a blot in the almost perfect Flash record and hope that such things as Doomward Flight of the Flashes are never forced on the reading public again." Wow. I completely disagree.
Yes, future Black Lightning.
Yes.
Jeff Pierce, we disagree with you from Stanford,
We do.
California.
Yes. Editorial response to that one then is,
Since Infantino Green are no longer handling the Flash art, we'll dispense with any counter comment. And since John Broom is not golden aging it with the stories in this issue, we'll waive comment on that score too. All of which leaves us with nothing to say, except that Gardner Fox has book-length next issue's swell-headed superhero, courtesy of the Trickster.
talking about issue 177, right, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the yellow cover with Barry with the giant Mekon-style swollen dome head,
that's
isn't it?
one of the first Silver Age Flash comics I got, because I could not resist that cover.
I don't know if I've still got my copy of that. I might have. I've had my copy of 173 for a very long time. I'm sure that's another one that I got from the late Mr. Root in the early 90s. It was interesting to see that they didn't like the cover. I think it's a brilliant cover concept. Highlighting all three of them, giving Jay a bit of prominence. Yeah, it's cool.
And having it stand out against the black, it really pops.
Yeah, it does.
One of the things I want to mention as well is Golden Man kind of reminded me of, do you remember the old Silver Age Flash issue, Land of Golden Giants?
Yes, issue 120 odd.
His look kind of reminded me of them as well. And also, there's a line of Flash's dialogue which says, "This must be what Earth was like millions of years ago while mountains were rising." Barry's been back in the past several million years before, and he has seen that sort of stuff. So I don't know why he's saying this must be what Earth was like, because he's been there and
he's seen it with his own eyes.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it's.
I think you've been a wee bit too picky there.
I'm being picky there.
But hey, you're allowed to be. It's our podcast.
Certainly
be as picky as we like.
So that was the Doomward Flight of the Flashes.
It pure was.
It was great fun.
It was. I really liked it. I hadn't read it, I don't think, probably since I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I was very pleasantly surprised. That it was, even in our preparation, I think I remember saying something to you that it was one that I can dismiss because I found it a bit tricky and a bit overcomplicated. But that was a pleasure to read and a pleasure to revisit. I really did enjoy that one.
Golden Man is certainly a unique villain, and we're going to enjoy putting images of him up on our social media. So, yeah, it's just so you can see exactly how ridiculous and outrageous he looks. He looks like Studio 54 Golden Man. So if you want to see what he looks like, check us out on our social media. On Facebook, we're at the Earth 2 Podcast. On Instagram, we're at the Earth 2 Podcast. And on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2. And it's the number 2 for all our social media. Also, make sure you check out our website, that's the earth2podcast.com, and where you can find this and all of our previous episodes.
Absolutely. So yes, please check out. There's going to be a good mix of extra bonus content for issue 173. Check it out and see what you think.
Indeed. And on that note, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. And you've been listening to
the Earth 2 Podcast.
Transmatter cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
And in the background, you see Jay whispering to Wally.
Wally. Sorry.
Do you want to see some puppies?
Do you like gladiator movies?
That's dark. And we can hear Gordon.
Gordon Man. My name is Gordon Man.
I am Gordon Man of the Legion of Superheroes.
I have the power of all the Gordons. The strength of 100 Gordons.
And we can hear Gordon...